about you, but I think one job that would be particularly difficult is a concert opener. They have to go on stage and have high energy and perform well in front of a crowd that's maybe still finding their seats, not sure what they're in for, and still easing into the music. That's kind of what Gus was up against, giving his speech first, so I'm thankful he got that out of the way, but the crowd seemed very supportive of that opener. But maybe just as hard as that is when your turn comes after someone who performs really well. And I'm in that boat because Gus's speech set the bar really high, and hearing his abundance of personal stories made me search even deeper in my own life for what I want to share, and I'm really glad for that, so thanks, Gus. As my time here at St. Agnes is coming to an end, I have reflected on my time here and all the things that I have grown, or all the ways that I've grown and things that I've experienced since transferring junior year. As I wrote and prepared for this, I also watched Dwight's speech for inspiration, but decided against the shouting and fist pounding. Although I will be leaving St. Agnes soon, I don't want to leave behind any of the lessons I've learned here. Although I won't be a high schooler anymore soon, I know that my high school years will continue to greatly impact and shape my life. One phrase which I love and heard many years ago, and which Gus actually mentioned last week, is to be the best version of yourself, which is this overarching mindset at approaching life that requires living with purpose. As a high schooler, you don't have the independence of an adult, and you don't have your life together, although you may never quite feel like you have your life together. But you may ask, as a high schooler, how can you be the best version of yourself? And how can you live with purpose? You're just a high schooler. This year, my friends have answered this question for me in 3 ways: living in the moment, and thus being the best I can be right now, having gratitude for every step of my life, and striving for greatness, even though I will not always succeed. Focus on the present. Stop dreaming up the future you or regretting your past self. There was you 10 years ago, and there is you today, and there is you in 10 years. You can't do anything about the version of you that lived 10 years ago, and it would be pointless for you to try and be the you that should live in 10 years. To be the best version of yourself today means accepting your stage in life right now, and living the best you can right now. It's good to think about your future vocation, career, aspirations, but your time should be spent far less dreaming up that version of you and far more on forming that version of you. Think about this. Elementary school leads to middle school to high school to college or work. It's so easy to go through the motions of one while having your mind set on the next. Often the effort I put into my work is for the sake of making it to the next level. I may only do my homework so that I can do well on the test, and only care about doing well on the test so I can pass the class and graduate, and only care about graduating so I can go to college, and go to college so I have more job opportunities. And somehow getting a good job feels like, to us as high schoolers, maybe the end goal. That's when life really begins, when I know my vocation and I have a career. All this is just preliminary. No, what we do should matter to us in the present for the sake of the present. Right now, you are called to be the best high school student you can be. That is your purpose. Your life has already begun. Don't treat now like this is just the prequel. Do not let life just happen to you. Make something happen in your life, starting right now. Have gratitude for both the high points and the low points. Have gratitude for the high points while you have them, because guess what comes next? Low points. And as hard as it is, have gratitude for the low points, because guess what they lead to? High points. The lowest point I ever had to deal with was deciding to leave my old school and come to St. Agnes. Not because I was attached to my old school or had much to leave behind, but because I was terrified of the unknown. But on the contrary, being surrounded by you all and experiencing this school has undoubtedly been the highest point of my life. Looking back, I am so grateful for those low points. They have brought me to where I am today and have taught me the most important life lessons. Embrace those low points. Maintain a grateful attitude through them. With gratitude, your suffering will lead you to a truth. And keeping your eye on that end goal, that truth, helps you stay grateful. When I was going through that low point to transfer schools, there was one line of lyrics that inspired me and helped me through that time. And the words are, "Your world's not falling apart, it's falling into place." Sometimes I listened to that song in the car or before I went to bed, Sometimes I would just lay on the floor in my room because I needed to hear those words, and I would just cry. Turns out Gus and I both spent time crying in our rooms by ourselves. Now, isn't it interesting how every supposedly inspirational speech ends up at this really sad point? It doesn't feel inspirational at all, it's kind of heartbreaking. But inspiring stories are about turnarounds, and you have to be real about how low you started to show how great the turnaround is. God has blessed me abundantly. Back then, all I saw in my life were these broken pieces, and I knew deep down they were somehow going to turn into the next great point of my life, which they did. But at the time, I couldn't see the big picture. You never can until the suffering's over, but you have to hold on to something that gives purpose to your suffering until you reach this summit of goodness that is the truth you attain. For me, that hope was the reassurance that my world wasn't falling apart. It was falling into place. Gratitude doesn't leave room for self-pity. You've got to accept the stage of life you're in right now and work through that in your pursuit of truth. Gratitude also doesn't leave room for comparison. When you start comparing yourself to others, you stop feeling grateful. How many times, honestly, have you been really pleased with your performance until you believe someone did it better, and then you don't feel special at all? Remember when you performed that piece of music the best you ever had, and you were proud of it? Or when you got a test score, and you were really pleased? Or when you had a really great outfit, didn't you feel confident? And that time that you saw progress in your fitness, weren't you motivated? Yeah, you were. Until you believed someone outperformed you in music, got a better test score, had an even more put together outfit, or was more strong and fit than you. Then you felt defeated, right? Why are we so bothered by other people's accomplishments? Without them saying a word, we let them have power over us to diminish our self-confidence and kill our joy for them. It is not their fault for having success. It is always our fault for letting comparison, that infectious disease, to creep into our lives. You set expectations based on what seems good for other people instead of what is good for you. Sometimes suffering is what's good for you, but you would never choose that. You don't understand it at the time, but you will understand later. Do not compare yourself. Be grateful for what you're experiencing right now, whatever it may be. Keep striving. The best you is not a perfect you that does everything right. It's a determined you that strives to always do what's right. As long as you're fully present in what you do and you're trying your best and you're striving, you're succeeding. And in your persistence, you will gain virtue, and in your growth of virtue, you will be rewarded. Often in ways you won't recognize until later, but you will be rewarded. An important thing about striving is that it's hard to do if you're surrounded by the wrong people. I started as a freshman at a different high school, along with several of my middle school classmates, but none of my best friends, and so I was really looking forward to making new friends. So at the end of first semester, when I didn't have a best friend yet, I figured friendship takes time, I'll have a best friend soon. But at the end of freshman year, I still hadn't clicked with anyone, and not once over that next summer did I hang out with a new friend. Sophomore year, I had what I considered a few close friends, but I was still scared when people asked me who my friend group was because I didn't know how to answer. I could name 2 or 3 people, but I knew they wouldn't have said the same thing about me. And even then, I was completely opposed when my parents suggested that I consider St. Agnes, because that's how much I settled. I greatly needed a reality check, anything to make me see that what I was striving for was the wrong things. I was striving to fit into an environment where I was accepted if I had the right brand of uniform pants, or the right shoes, or the right phone. It sounds ridiculous, but those are things that matter to me then. My classmates set the bar so low, and yet it was unattainable. I would always have to settle. At St. Agnes, the bar is set extremely high, but people accept me even if I don't reach it, as long as I'm striving. The bar is based on virtue and character, and I'm accepted even wearing a jumper and loafers, which would have gotten me weird looks at my old school. Striving, that's what counts. Maria Osterbauer is an amazing striver. She takes the time to self-evaluate on what she's doing right and where she could do better, through journaling, or spending time in the chapel, or talking to me or other friends. And she holds me accountable for striving to be my best self, because through her example, she pushes me to do the same. Before, I settled because I didn't know there was something better than what I had. But now I know there is more potential to your life than you've ever dreamed of. And so I'm telling you, don't settle. Always keep striving. High school is the time to grow in knowledge of who you are and who you want to become. And I know that sounds so cliche to say that you have to discover yourself. You are you. Why do you have to find out who you are? But if there is this essence of the best version of yourself, and you are not yet manifesting the qualities that version of you has, you have to find out what that version of you looks like so you can start exemplifying him or her. I do know it's not your past self. It's not your future self. It's the you that only you are called to be right now. It's a you that accepts the stage in life you're in right now with gratitude and is striving for perfection while never fully expecting to reach it. We're human. We mess up. We can still strive to be the best version of ourselves, even in high school, by living our high school lives with purpose. When I was writing this, I was trying to think of people that fit each of my points. Living with purpose, in the present, being grateful, and striving. Elizabeth Dickerson. I couldn't designate her to any one of those categories because she fits them all. She doesn't dream up what she wants to happen, she makes it happen. She doesn't complain because she's always grateful. And she's always striving to be better than the day before, even though she's already a phenomenal person. Now, if you ever wonder or doubt why you're here, why are you learning what you're learning? How is it going to help you in life? Why do you play a sport? Why were you in the musical? What is it doing for you? As long as you do these things with purpose, you are growing in virtue and you're pleasing God, and you're becoming the best version of yourself. I hope this means something to you coming from a peer. It's not a breeze to prepare this and stand up telling the whole school things that are really personal with me, but it's because I'm so passionate about what my high school years have taught me that I'm able to do this. And I can't imagine leaving the school without leaving this message behind. To have gratitude and strive. That is the best version of yourself. That is what I hope and pray you and I will all become. Learn from your past self. Be your present self. Form your future self. Thank you.